Mr. Gorbachev, open this gate.
Even as President Reagan spoke at the Berlin Wall in 1987, the last great drama of the Cold War was unfolding. For decades, the repression of Eastern Europe had been backed up by the threat of Soviet military force. But in 1988, Soviet President Mikhail Gorbachev announced an end to that policy. At the United Nations, he declared, "Force cannot be an instrument of foreign policy. Freedom of choice is a universal principle, and it should know no exceptions." Hardline communists throughout the Eastern Bloc were powerless to stop what came next. The citizens of one country after another rose up against communist domination. Hungary led the way. In June 1989, the Hungarian government held a state funeral to honor and rebury the martyred figurehead of the 1956 uprising, Imre Nagy. 200,000 Hungarians attended. At the same time, Hungary opened its border with Austria, opening a gateway in the Iron Curtain. When news reached East Germany, tens of thousands packed up their belongings and made the 800-kilometer journey to freedom. In Poland, free elections were held, and solidarity prevailed. Lech Walesa was chosen to lead the first non-communist government in post-war Eastern Europe. In Czechoslovakia, hundreds of thousands mobbed the streets, demanding that the government step down. By the end of the year, Alexander Dubček, whose 1968 Prague Spring reforms had been crushed by Soviet tanks, was installed as chairman of the National Assembly. Alongside him was Czechoslovakia's new president, playwright turned dissident turned politician, Václav Havel. In Bulgaria, the Communist Party was renounced and forced to hold free and fair elections.
Free and democratic elections to be held next year.
Only in Romania was the revolution bloody. The most brutal of communist dictators, Nicolae Ceausescu, clung tenaciously to power, only to be deposed, arrested, and then executed on Christmas Day, 1989. Across the country, the Soviet emblem was torn from the Romanian flag in celebration of their newly won independence. In East Germany, the hardliner Erich Honecker was forced to resign. Despite promising democratic reforms, the new government was unable to contain the popular uprising. After nearly 30 years, the Berlin Wall was breached. Within a year, the future of divided Germany was settled once and for all. In 1990, the country was united, and the German people voted to establish a single, democratic government. As the Eastern Bloc disintegrated, Mikhail Gorbachev refused to intervene. He was hailed as a hero by those outside his country. At home, he was ridiculed during the country's annual May Day parade. The Soviet Union had lost its international prestige. Perestroika had failed to revive the economy. And the individual republics that comprised the vast Soviet state demanded their independence. Ultimately, the force of change that had swept through Eastern Europe engulfed the Soviet Union as well, and consumed the man who had set them in motion. On Christmas Day, 1991, Mikhail Gorbachev, in his final act as head of state, officially dissolved the Soviet Union. The Cold War was over.